My name is Dorothy. My subject is hemp, a green leafy herb that can be used for industrial purposes. It can be used for natural medicinal purposes, and it can be eaten with your salad. I am going to attempt to introduce you to the truth of the medicinal part and the product of the hemp plant and its medical name, cannabis, C-A-N-N-A-B-I-S, cannabis. Our United States government politicians changed the name of hemp and want us to call it marijuana, señor, señora, señorita. I grew up using the industrial hemp and using the plant's real name, hemp, H-E-M-P. 1. My grandfather's hempen ropes used in getting hay into the hay mow. It was a fork down into the hay on the wagon, hempen rope to pull it up, put it in the hay mow. 2. Wearing undergarments made of the hemp stem herds. 3. My pediatrician's chest rub ointment containing hemp seed oil. Actually, a little bit left. This bottle is probably from about 1949-1950. Dr. Johnston's lung oil. It was great when I had a cold. My mom would rub that on my chest and my throat, and the next day I was able to go to school. That might have been a drawback. 4. My dad's navy shoes and my navy shoes were sewn with hempen cordage. And 5. 8 years ago, it was diagnosed and discovered that both eyes had a start of glaucoma. I therefore use cannabis, hemp. Now, next week I have my next eye exam. If all goes well, I will be free from glaucoma for 3 years. A little history of the original United States that was a collection of sovereign republics in the Union. Under the original Constitution, the states controlled the federal government. The federal government did not control us and had very little authority. Those days held life, hard work, Christian ethics and values, simplicity in existence. However, a political change occurred in the 1930s. Clever leaders and their lobbyists, their buddies in Hollywood, and a famous and wealthy tycoon California newspaper publisher, most people stupefied to the point of believing any political lie rather than search for truth. Now, contacting the politician has come to frustration. Constant TV candidates cutting down the opponent and what they claim they will do for us, and then renege on their tall tales. No truth. Let's look at hemp and some of its positive aspects. The former President George Washington and President Thomas Jefferson grew hemp on their plantations, documented proof. Then in 1942, after Japan cut off the supply of Manila hemp, the United States government changed the name of marijuana back to hemp and distributed 400,000 pounds of hemp seeds to American farmers, making Wisconsin, Kentucky, and Texas cash crops, and also making hemp a war veteran hero. Just look at how Americans treat hemp, just like Americans treated us Vietnam veterans. Total disrespect. Moving on to 1952, the Washington, D.C. politicians changed again the name of hemp back to marijuana and made the whole plant illegal, and actually destroyed Wisconsin farmers' cash crops that year. And I know that for a fact because I was going on 5 years old and I sat with my mom and dad in their 48 coupe alongside the road, and I watched the G-men destroy, literally, a farmer's hemp season. The whole season's planting. And he was standing in the doorway of his home with his shotgun on the 3 G-men in the bushes facing him, telling him, "You put down that gun or we'll shoot you," and they were threatening him. He said, "I will not." And finally, Dad said, "I've seen enough," and we left. So no more sturdy undergarments and no more natural medicine for the ill human being. No more hemp seeds for our creatures. My great-grandma fed her canary hemp seeds, and the feathers glistened in the sunlight. Hemp is, by far, Earth's chief renewable natural resource. This is why hemp is so important. It has been studied that hemp can reverse the greenhouse effect and help save our planet, but the political name change took from us our Earth's future. The campaigning politician is not available for questions. They are too busy snowing the voter, cutting down the opponent by the use of our postal system, radio, and television day after day, month after month, and poll after poll. But no door-to-door street shoe leather to and for the voter. For example, is it really so important to you, voters, that you see the politician in living color time after nauseating time on television to decide in whom you will vote? Let's take one recent Wisconsin politician as an example. He ran for office a few years ago using legalization of marijuana as a promise that if the state's people wanted legal medical cannabis, marijuana, he, the candidate, would see to it that we receive legalization. The people voted. The people won. I recommend that you read Rachel Carson's book, Silent Spring, and see for yourself how the chemical companies and our governments treated her plea to the citizen about chemicals and what happened to her. And you don't have to read a whole lot if you don't want to read the book, you just want to watch television. It's right here in the foreword, what happened to her and the chemical companies and the government did to her. It's a shame. If you need more proof of the ungodly deeds of our politicians to the ill human, read Dr. Lester Grinspoon's book, Marijuana Reconsidered, and see how he cared for his 12-year-old son dying of cancer. Dr. Grinspoon at least wanted his dying son to be able to eat. So he had his son use cannabis. If you now care to learn, read Mr. Jack Herer's book, The Emperor Wears No Clothes, and get a full history of hemp, its goodness, and the dastardly deeds of our country's politicians. It has it all. Get your heads out of the sand, Americans. I would think by now that God Almighty is sick and tired of your willful complacency, and fight for the freedom that the Founding Fathers bestowed upon this nation. In closing, you will see a pamphlet on marijuana rescheduling petition. It's actually done by a judge of this country in September 1988. And he's gone now, can't talk to him, just like we can't speak to Mr. Hare, can't speak to Dr. Grinspoon, can't speak to Rachel Carson, but they are speaking to us. Listen. Here is what I was trying to say before. Clothes, hemp. The first flag, hemp. The Constitution, written on hemp. Here's the hemp stem. The roots go down into the ground to where there is no erosion. And here's the hemp hurd. The hemp hurd is the part that's inside the stem. Here's the hemp plant. It grows up in one season as large as a tree. So if you're going to make paper, you have all this hemp to make paper, and let our poor little trees alone and let them grow and take care of the carbon dioxide, which this also does. It shows then going down into the ground. And the seeds, they show the seeds. And like I said, it's good breakfast cereal. This is a lady wearing hemp clothing. Here's the machine, which you can't really see because this is so dark, but this is the machine that cuts the hemp and takes out the hemp hurd, which can be used then for clothing, just like she's showing you. Here's the navy, the hempen rope. The sailor probably has hemp cordage sewn in his shoes, as my dad and I did. Here is where I found out that hemp for health, medical use of hemp, including treating back pain. I don't know about the back pain. I do have back pain, but I use CBD oil because that's legal, but the cannabis is not. And here it says glaucoma. Now, I said to my eye doctor when she said, you have glaucoma starting, I said to her, I'll use cannabis to break this. And she said, I didn't hear that. Okay. So I used cannabis. Unfortunately, I had to use it illegally. That did not, according to the Bible, you don't break the law of the land. I had to break the law of the land because my eyesight is more important than the politicians lying to we the people. I said, if everything goes okay this next week, I'll be glaucoma free for 3 whole years. It's right here that comes out of this book. This I showed you, Hemp for Victory. Then I also want to show you this document, out of print. In the matter of marijuana rescheduling petition, docket number 86-22, opinion and recommended ruling. Francis L. Young, administrative law judge. I'll go to the back so that it doesn't take too much time. It says, the administrative law judge recommends that the administrator conclude that the marijuana plant considered as a whole has a currently accepted medical use and treatment in the United States, that there is no lack of accepted safety for use of it under medical supervision, and that it may lawfully be transferred from Schedule 1 to Schedule 2. The judge recommends that the administrator transfer marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 2. Francis L. Young, Administrative Law Judge, September 6, 1988. Not even a judge could be listened to by our politicians. 1988, I hate to tell you this, but that's been a long time ago. Now, some of you people are going to question my constitutional statement. The United States exists, and here, the original United States was in operation until 1860, a collection of sovereign republics in the Union. Under the original Constitution, the states controlled the federal government. The federal government did not control the states and had very little authority. I hope that the public, since we voted, we spoke up. We want legal medical cannabis in Wisconsin. We don't want to have to break the law and go over to Minnesota. We want it in our state and help our state become a cash crop state again. Would you like to have some nice roads to drive on? Would you like to have infrastructure created into more safe travel? Americans, Wisconsinites, you're gonna vote the November 8th. I don't know how you're gonna vote for this candidate is cutting down this candidate, and then this candidate is cutting down that candidate, and they're not knocking on our doors so we can ask them questions. They're just telling us what they're going to do. No, that's not a free election. That's not freedom. And that's it. Thank you so much for listening.